Step 9. Make amends to all persons we have harmed, except when doing so would injure them, ourselves, or others. Section 3. Nurturing marital connection through emotional intimacy. Moving from lust to intimacy. Making amends with our spouse includes nurturing intimacy, which can be defined as a close, affectionate, and loving personal relationship. On the one hand, lust, as described by Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, quote, defiles the highest and holiest relationship God gives us in mortality, the love that a man and a woman have for each other. Close quote. It places our focus on the intensity and frequency of fantasy and acting out, rather on the bonding experience of intimacy that leads to a loving and deep emotional union in marriage. As a result, our addiction causes us to live without real intimacy, or at least with a significant diminished capacity for it. Indeed, some of us have been so deep in our addiction that we've never experienced true intimacy. While in addiction, we have more experience suppressing our emotions than we do expressing them. This makes it nearly impossible to nurture any feelings of affection and caring, especially toward our spouse. We will need to become willing to process through our emotions and learn how to openly share them. It can be challenging at first to honestly express our emotions with our spouse, yet it is worth every effort. As we develop the capacity and the willingness to honestly share our feelings, we will find the experience of real intimacy is better than anything we could have ever imagined. We will also need to work daily on our relationship by developing direct, open, and honest communication, as well as practicing patience and empathy. As we develop stable recovery by continually working our program, we become better prepared to discover what it will take to move our relationships out of crisis mode and onto a path not only of repair, but of deepening intimacy. Emotional connection. Although emotionally connecting with others is as important to our existence as food, water, and shelter, our fear of judgment and rejection often keeps us isolated from one another. Escaping our emotions while in addiction has made emotional connection with our spouse nearly impossible. It is for this reason that spouses need to work together to nurture the emotional connection that God intends for each of us. It is by uniting our life with another's that we experience a mingling of souls, sharing of hearts. This is something we all long for because it's how God made us. Progressive connection is possible in several ways as our relationship continues to improve. One example is as President Dallin H. Oaks encouraged, quote, please join hands, kneel together, and prayerfully plead for help and the healing power of the atonement. Your humble and united pleadings will bring you closer to the Lord and to each other, and will help you in the hard climb back to marital harmony. Close quote. Still, we can't love others until we first love ourselves. And to share ourselves, we need to first get to know ourselves. If we want to cultivate an emotional bond, we will need to become familiar with how we truly feel. How can we share our authentic feelings, wants, and needs if we are not even aware of what they are? The truth is, powerful connection begins to happen when we feel seen, heard, and valued, when we can give and receive without judgment, and when we derive sustenance and strength from our relationships. For example, the spouse of an addict openly sharing the pain and betrayal they have felt can safely exist in the same space as the addicted spouse sharing their sorrow and regret for causing such suffering. And together in this space, they can grow closer together, sharing and healing their pain in the realm of vulnerability and connection. By committing ourselves to building a new relationship through relying upon the Lord's healing guidance, it is possible to develop a fulfilling and joyful marriage. We all desire for our relationships to be a comfortable place for us when we are weary, a place of compassion and support. If we continue on our recovery path, there will come a time when we will be able to acknowledge our spouse's hurts and fears and listen to their pain, free of shame, blame, and defensiveness. And there will come a time when we can assure them that we are sincerely striving in our recovery efforts, free from insincerity and hypocrisy. This is a promise that true recovery has never broken. Emotional intimacy. It seems a simple thing, allowing others to just see us for who we are, especially in our most intimate relationships, where we seek to feel wholly accepted, respected, worthy, and even admired. If we relate intimacy with into me see, it might make more sense. For how can anyone see into us unless we ourselves recognize who we are and are willing to allow them in? What prevents us from becoming vulnerable enough to be truly seen? Fear. Fear is what stops us because no one wants to allow someone to see into their heart who is controlling, judgmental, critical, sarcastic, or unforgiving. Each spouse will need to cease judgment for intimacy to develop. Such is the very reason that it is so critical that both spouses increase their emotional awareness by working recovery, because both need softer hearts, courage to do hard things, and a connection with God to guide their path. The Healing Through Christ Family Support Workbook helps family members to work their own recovery and learn how to draw closer to Heavenly Father as they heal their relationships with others. In order for this form of deep connection to be restored, it will take both spouses working individually and together, deliberately nurturing a relationship in which emotional intimacy can thrive. President M. Russell Ballard stated, quote, "Our interpersonal relationships should be built on a foundation of mutual respect, trust, and understanding, especially understanding." Close quote. When one spouse is willing to share deeply, it often opens the door for the other to share as well. This healing process improves gradually over time as we slowly reveal our true selves and are constantly met with acceptance. Additionally, our relationship will become stronger when we make time to authentically connect with one another, whether it be talking, laughing, crying, or silently resting in each other's presence. When we practice being emotionally present, it means preparing ourselves to share core feelings, including happiness, fear, shame, joy, or hopelessness. Still, as much as we'd like, we aren't always capable of being emotionally connective at the drop of a hat. It may take some time to prepare ourselves to be vulnerable. That is when we can ask our spouse for time to prepare to be non defensive and emotionally present, to be willing to listen, accept, and seek to understand in all circumstances. When we are ready to talk, it can be helpful to express our mutual feelings and needs to one another. As we work to shift our focus, we will begin to replace our isolating habits with simple and profound connections that foster intimacy. Still, we should be aware that such emotional connection is not accomplished all at once, but happens just a little at a time while trust is developed. If we really desire that our spouse open their heart to us, we will need to provide them a safe place to do so. However, both spouses need healing and growth, and perhaps the help of a therapist in order to nurture such emotional progression. Sexual relations are a get to, not a have to. Our addiction has dictated that sex is a need, that we have to have it, and that we will die without it. Yet no one has ever actually died from not having sex. If something is essential, we will die if we don't get it. Food, water, shelter, those are essential to survival. A healthy relationship with God and other human beings is a need. Even non sexual touch can be categorized as a need. Think about it this way: if we were shipwrecked on a deserted island, we would die within a few days without water, a few weeks without food, and likely a few years without the healthy companionship with God and other human beings. But we would not die without sex, because, contrary to what our addiction has dictated, sex is not essential to our personal survival. Society tends to look at the relationship between sex and intimacy backwards, thinking the more sex we have, the more fulfilling our relationship will become. However, the more emotionally vulnerable we are, and the more safety and connection we nurture, the more we create an environment in which healthy sexuality will naturally develop. It is important to understand that sexual relations within marriage are divinely approved as a way of expressing love and strengthening emotional and spiritual bonds between husband and wife. Divinely approved, however, does not mean obligated, required, mandated, or even commanded. Sexual relations are a get to, not a need to or even a have to. Both spouses have the right to say no to sex if they feel unsafe or disconnected, or for any other reason, and they have the right to have those boundaries honored, both emotionally and physically. Truly, the sacred relationship we have with our spouse must be built on love, respect, compassion, and emotional intimacy. President Spencer W. Kimball taught, quote, "The love of which the Lord speaks is not only physical attraction, but spiritual attraction as well. It is companionship with common ideals and standards. It is unselfishness toward and sacrifice for one another. It is vast, all inclusive, and limitless. This kind of love never tires or wanes. It lives on through sickness and sorrow, through accomplishment and disappointment, through time and eternity." Close quote. Fostering a healthy sexual relationship. Experienced therapists affirm that emotional intimacy is foundational for a healthy sexual relationship. Because our addiction to lust has caused us to view sex as an act that is disconnected from any emotional tenderness and abiding love, we will have to learn what true sexual intimacy involves. The rituals and fantasies we developed in addiction have made it impossible to experience healthy marital intimacy. Clearly, a powerful component to recovery from sex addiction is simply learning to shift our perspective about sex and adopting new approaches to our sexual relationship. In an effort to cleanse lust from our marriage, it is recommended that a period of sexual abstinence be decided upon by both spouses to provide time to better distinguish between healthy and problematic sexual behaviors. To break free from lust and replace it with a healthy, loving connection is a gradual learning process, but definitely possible as our trust and intimacy are being rebuilt. It may take considerable time, patience, and trial by error, but as long as healthy communication and the promotion of spiritual, emotional, and physical safety exists, our sexual relationship can and will become intimacy driven. Sexual relations with our spouse truly can be a sacred unifying experience. Still, each spouse must be willing to take the journey, both together and separately, by learning to nourish emotional safety and healthy intimacy. Elder Jeffrey R. Holland taught that healthy intimacy will, quote, preserve and perpetuate both the holiness and the happiness of marriage, close quote. And so we follow Elder Holland's counsel, quote, keep loving, keep trying, keep believing, keep growing. Heaven is cheering you on today, tomorrow, and forever. Close quote. The spiritual promise of Step 9, Section 3. In order to progress and allow emotional growth and healing, we will need to come to terms with the truth that God is ultimately the change agent and healer. Elder Holland has affirmed that, quote, everything in the gospel teaches us that we can change if we need to, that we can be helped if we truly want it, that we can be made whole, whatever the problems of the past. Close quote. The spiritual principles we implement in recovery will build the foundation that forms a powerful bond in our marriage. It allows us to more fully experience love, intimacy, tenderness, closeness, and warmth. For love is the highest degree of recovery, and when combined with faith and hope, we know absolutely that our recovery can take us beyond where we could have ever before dreamed. Inviting the connective emotional qualities of trust, respect, kindness, and affection will create for us the emotional intimacy we have always desired. Just as our house ought to be built upon a solid foundation, so should our marriage be built upon the rock that is our Redeemer. When we surrender our emotional selves to the care of God, we thrive. As Elder Holland testified, quote, Christ-like staying power in romance and marriage requires an endowment from heaven. You want capability, safety, and security in marriage life and eternity? Jesus Christ, the light of the world, is the only lamp by which we can successfully see the path of love and happiness for us and for our sweetheart. How should we love? As he does, for that way never faileth. Close quote. For additional information regarding the Family Support Workbook and 12-step meetings, visit www.healingthroughchrist.org.